Emily Carter and her mother, Layla, shared a bond across continents, but one short video from Emily would shatter that connection forever, showing a calm smile while hiding a danger that would never let her return home. Emily Carter was 29 years old and known among friends as someone who never stayed in one place for too long. She believed movement meant freedom, and each new city felt like a chance to restart her life without questions or expectations. Raised in the United States, she had grown used to being independent early on. Her parents had separated years before, and her closest bond was with her mother, who had relocated to Dubai for work. Despite the distance and time difference, they stayed connected through constant messages, short calls, and occasional video updates that made the world feel smaller. When Emily accepted a short-term opportunity in a quiet coastal town in southern Europe, it felt like just another step in her restless journey. The town was advertised as safe, affordable, and full of temporary work for foreigners. Photos showed sunny streets, pale buildings, and calm blue water. Emily liked the idea of somewhere slow and peaceful after months of stress and uncertainty. She told her mother not to worry, explaining that she would only stay a few weeks before returning home to plan her next move. At first, everything seemed normal. Emily sent photos of morning walks near the sea and meals at small cafes. Her messages were light and casual, full of everyday details. She mentioned meeting new people and hinted at an unexpected opportunity that could help her financially. She did not explain much, brushing it off as something she would talk about later. Her mother sensed hesitation but chose not to push, trusting Emily's judgment as she always had. A few days later, Emily recorded a short video from her rented apartment. The lighting was soft, and she sat facing the camera with her hair neatly tied back. She looked composed, almost overly calm. Her voice was steady, and her words were reassuring. She said she was safe, happy, and busy, and that there was no reason for concern. She promised she would be home soon and ended the video without lingering, as if she were in a hurry. The video arrived late at night in Dubai. Emily's mother watched it twice before going to sleep. At first, it brought relief. Seeing her daughter alive and well eased the quiet fear that always followed long silences. Still, something about the video felt different. It lacked Emily's usual warmth. There were no jokes, no rambling stories, no familiar spark. It felt rehearsed, like a checklist being completed. The next day passed without a single message. That was unusual. By the second day, the silence felt heavy. Calls went unanswered, texts remained unread, and the video became the last thread connecting Emily to the world she left behind. What had seemed like a simple update slowly transformed into a haunting farewell, though no one understood it yet. When Emily did not respond for several days, concern slowly turned into alarm. Her mother began contacting anyone who might have heard from her, starting with friends in the United States and then moving outward. No one had spoken to Emily since the video. Her social media accounts were inactive, which was unusual for someone who documented almost every part of her life. The absence felt unnatural, as if she had been erased rather than gone on a break. Local authorities in the coastal town were notified, but their initial response was cautious and procedural. Emily was an adult with no known medical issues and no history of disappearing without notice. Officers visited her rented apartment and found it locked, with no obvious damage. Inside, the space looked clean and organized. Her clothes were folded, her toiletries arranged neatly in the bathroom, and her laptop placed carefully on the table. It looked less like a place someone had fled from and more like a place someone planned to return to. Several details quickly raised questions. Emily's suitcase was still there, partially packed, with travel documents placed on top. Her passport had not been taken. A small notebook lay open beside the bed, filled with recent dates and short reminders. Nothing in the apartment suggested she intended to vanish. Even more troubling was her phone charger, still plugged into the wall, unused. As investigators dug deeper, inconsistencies began to surface. Bank records showed Emily had withdrawn large amounts of cash in the days leading up to her disappearance. The withdrawals were out of character and drained most of her account. Friends confirmed she had mentioned a new opportunity that promised fast money, but avoided giving details. She also hinted at someone helping her settle things locally, though she never shared a name or photo. The video sent to her mother was reviewed more carefully. Officers slowed it down and watched it frame by frame. Emily's body language felt restrained. Her posture was stiff, and her hands remained out of view the entire time. The apartment window behind her was shut, even though weather reports confirmed extreme heat that week. There were faint shadows moving across the wall, suggesting someone else was present but out of frame. Digital analysis revealed the video was recorded earlier than the time it was sent. It had been stored on her phone for several hours before being delivered, which meant Emily did not send it in real time. That discovery changed everything. The message was no longer comforting. It became suspicious. Neighbors were interviewed, but most remembered little. Emily kept to herself and had only been in the building for a short time. One resident mentioned seeing her with a man on a few occasions, someone older who did not live there. Another neighbor recalled hearing raised voices one evening, followed by sudden silence. What once looked like a simple case of a missing traveler now felt calculated and deliberate. Each new detail pointed away from an accident and towards something far darker. The calm video, the untouched apartment, and the unexplained money all suggested a story Emily never got the chance to finish. Security cameras around the apartment complex became the next focus of the investigation. Footage from nearby streets and building entrances was collected and reviewed over and over. Late one evening, Emily was seen entering the building with a man who did not live there. He walked closely beside her, carrying himself with confidence, as if he knew the place well. Emily followed slightly behind, her movements slower and more cautious than in earlier recordings. That was the last time she was seen alive. Hours later, the same cameras captured the man leaving the building alone. He carried a dark backpack that appeared full and heavy. His pace was steady, unhurried, and he never looked back. Emily was not with him. No footage showed her exiting the apartment after that moment. Investigators worked to identify the man. Using facial recognition and local databases, they traced him to a small network of individuals known for assisting foreign workers with housing, paperwork, and job placements. He operated in legal gray areas, often charging high fees for quick results. Previous complaints linked him to financial scams, unpaid wages, and intimidation, but nothing had ever tied him to violence. When authorities questioned him, his story was simple and calm. He claimed Emily had decided to leave town suddenly and asked him to help clean the apartment before returning the keys. He said she paid him in cash and left early the next morning. The explanation seemed designed to sound reasonable, but it quickly fell apart. Forensic teams returned to the apartment with a new focus. Using advanced testing, they discovered traces of strong cleaning chemicals on the floors and bathroom surfaces. Underneath, there were faint biological traces that suggested blood had once been present. The amount was small but significant enough to confirm an injury had occurred there. Investigators also examined the backpack seen on camera. Similar bags were sold locally, and store records showed the man had purchased one shortly before Emily disappeared. Phone data placed him near the apartment during the night and early morning hours, contradicting his claim of a brief visit. His device also connected to cell towers near a marina later that day, an area far from his usual routine. As pressure increased, the man's background revealed a disturbing pattern. Other foreign women had left the town suddenly after dealing with him. Some lost money, others abandoned belongings. None had ever filed formal reports, but the similarities were impossible to ignore. Emily was the first who did not reappear somewhere else. The case officially shifted from a missing person investigation to a suspected murder. The video Emily sent was reclassified as a staged message, likely recorded under stress. What once appeared to be reassurance now looked like a calculated delay meant to slow the search. Each piece of evidence tightened around the man, yet there was still no body. Without it, prosecutors faced challenges, and the suspect remained free under supervision. For Emily's family, the uncertainty was unbearable. The truth was close, but still hidden, buried beneath lies, erased evidence, and a calm video that had been anything but fine. Weeks turned into months, and the case began to fade from public attention, but it never slowed for Emily's mother. From Dubai, she contacted lawyers, journalists, and international agencies, refusing to let the investigation stall. She shared Emily's story across borders, insisting that her daughter did not simply disappear. The pressure forced cooperation between countries, and a joint task force was formed to continue the search. Investigators expanded their focus beyond the apartment and the suspect's immediate movements. Phone data revealed that Emily's device had briefly connected to a signal several hours after the video was sent. The location traced to a remote marina outside town, an area rarely visited except by fishermen and cargo workers. The signal lasted only minutes before going dark forever. That brief digital trace became the strongest lead in weeks. Search teams moved in quietly, scanning the marina and nearby coastline. Boats were inspected, storage units opened, and workers questioned. Nothing directly connected to Emily was found. The water was searched next. Divers combed the area again and again, fighting poor visibility and strong currents. Each search ended the same way, with empty hands and growing frustration. As hope began to thin, nature intervened. A violent storm swept through the region, causing landslides on the hills overlooking the town. Days later, a hiker reported a disturbed patch of earth where the soil had collapsed. Authorities responded quickly. Beneath the surface, they uncovered human remains wrapped in layers of plastic and fabric. The location was remote but reachable by foot from the marina. Forensic examination confirmed what everyone feared. The remains belonged to Emily. Dental records and personal items left no doubt. The cause of death pointed to blunt force trauma, and evidence suggested she had been killed the same night the video was recorded. The message sent to her mother had been a calculated move, designed to create distance between the crime and its discovery. With the body found, the investigation accelerated. Soil samples linked the burial site to traces found in the suspect's vehicle. Fibers matched materials from the apartment. Digital evidence recovered from devices tied him to the location on the night of the crime and during the burial. Financial records showed Emily had uncovered the truth behind the job offer she once mentioned. It was part of a laundering operation using foreign workers as disposable intermediaries. Emily had tried to leave. She had withdrawn cash, packed her suitcase, and prepared to go home. When she confronted the man who brought her into the scheme, the situation escalated beyond control. The video was recorded afterward, not as reassurance, but as a tool to delay suspicion and buy time. The arrest followed swiftly. This time, the evidence was undeniable. For Emily's family, the discovery brought both closure and devastation. The long search was over, but the loss was final. The calm town returned to normal life, carrying a secret beneath its hills, while a mother across the world mourned a daughter who had trusted the wrong promise. The arrest of the suspect brought a grim clarity to Emily's case, but it also opened the door to details that were more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. Investigators uncovered a network of coercion, manipulation, and control. The man was not acting alone. He operated with a small group that specialized in luring vulnerable foreigners into false opportunities. They offered high-paying jobs, temporary housing, and promises of security, all designed to gain trust quickly. Emily's intelligence and independence, which had always been her strength, ironically made her a target. She asked too many questions and recognized inconsistencies that others might have ignored. Digital evidence recovered from the suspect's devices revealed step-by-step planning. Text messages and voice notes indicated that Emily had been monitored from the moment she entered the town. Her movements, communications, and interactions were documented meticulously. She had unwittingly walked into a trap that relied on psychological manipulation rather than brute force. The comm video sent to her mother was part of this plan. It was intended to reassure anyone watching that Emily was safe, buying the perpetrators time to cover their tracks. Further investigation showed that Emily had discovered the truth too late. The job offer she had mentioned in passing was a front for a money laundering scheme, and she had realized it After seeing irregularities in transactions and instructions she was being asked to follow. When she voiced her concerns or attempted to withdraw from the arrangement, the situation escalated. The perpetrators could not allow her to leave with knowledge of their operations. The decision to record the video was deliberate. It created a false sense of security for her mother and anyone else who might have tried to intervene. Court documents revealed chilling details of how the man and his associates controlled the environment around Emily. Cameras were strategically placed, entrances monitored, and even casual interactions with neighbors noted. Every step she took was anticipated, leaving little room for escape. The video itself, once a comforting message, became evidence of coercion, showing a woman performing calmness under duress. Her smile and steady voice were a facade carefully orchestrated, masking the fear she could not reveal. When the trial began, it became clear that no single piece of evidence was more devastating than the story the investigation told collectively. Emily's intelligence, her independence, and her trust in her family had been weaponized against her. The court presented the timeline: the last night she was seen alive, the manipulated video sent to Dubai, her monitored movements, and the burial on the hillside. Each fact underscored the brutality of the calculated crime, the precision of the manipulation, and the cruelty of someone using trust as a weapon. For Emily's mother, the video became both a haunting memory and a final, painful truth. She replayed it countless times, searching for any sign, any hidden message, any warning that she could have understood. Each viewing reinforced the realization that the calmness was never genuine. Everything appeared fine on the surface, but underneath, danger had already claimed her daughter's life. The case ended in conviction, yet the message remained stark. Appearances can be deceiving, and the simplest reassurance can hide the darkest reality. Emily's final words were never meant to comfort. They were the last act of a trap that was already complete.